The Tim and Tony podcast is brought to you by Tim. Why do you use Bucked Up?
Because Tony, everybody needs a little help in their life. I found out a few years ago that I needed that extra push to actually do my workouts at the level that I wanted to be doing them at and to get the results that I wanted to out of working out. And so, one of the most frustrating things is when you're hitting the gym as hard as your body will allow you to, and you feel like you're not getting anywhere. These supplements will really help you get to that next level, get to that next step, and push you to hopefully reach your goals. So that's why I use it.
Bucked Up. It tastes fantastic and it helps you work out. Get it, use it. We have a promo code, right?
We do. Promo code, very easy to remember. It's T and T20. Get 20% off your Bucked Up order. They have supplements, every single one you can think of, shirts, hats, fucking joggers, anything you could possibly want. They've got it.
TNT joggers.
TNT20. Get 20% off your entire order today online, buckedup.com.
TANDT20.
Tony, before we had this podcast and we received this next wonderful sponsor, we both struggled with our fashion game, specifically and especially our gym fashion game, which is an underrated part of going to the gym.
Yes.
So please tell the people how they can get more excited about going to the gym and what company they can go to buy some stuff that'll make them feel better.
So what's great is, wow, interesting. We're keeping that in. So all you got to do is go to titlewear.com, because what you're going to find there is you're going to find some of the most comfortable and flattering, might I add, gym wear on the market. They got hoodies, they got sleeveless hoodies, they got tank tops, they got t-shirts, they got shorts, they've got compression pants, and they've got sports bras, they've got leggings, they've got all of it. It's fantastic. The quality is amazing. It's made for workouts, so they're durable, and it's just plain comfortable. So, Tim, what's that promo code?
Very easy to remember. It is TNT15. That's TANDT15. That's 15% off your entire order. You can order one thing. You can order 13 things. You can order 100 fucking things. It's 15% off the entire order at title.com.
And if you want to order 100 fucking things, you do it, and you do it with the promo code TANDT15. Tim, do you care about sustainability?
I do.
Do you care about comfort?
I very much do.
Do you care about style?
A little bit.
Do you care about just looking good?
I really do. I really do care about all those things. I didn't mean to put sustainability. It feels like I put sustainability a little lower on that list than I should have. But I care about those things deeply.
And in fact, sustainability is actually one of the best parts about what I'm about to talk about. Allbirds, they make incredible shoes. They make incredible clothing. They make incredible socks. Tell us about it, Tim.
Welcome to the program, Allbirds. We're happy to have you on board.
Absolutely.
These are, no exaggeration, the most comfortable fucking shoes I've ever worn in my entire life.
And you don't have to just wear them when you're having sex.
That's right. That's right. I can't believe we just put that in an ad. They look great. They feel better, and they're good for the planet. This is a little bit different than we've done in the other ones. We're going to attach the link to go to Allbirds, where you can pick up not only a pair of shoes, a shirt. They're making joggers. They've got shorts, whatever you want. You buy anything on the store, you get a free pair of socks with it on us. If you do go to the store and buy some Allbirds, please use the link that's in the description of this podcast.
Yes, and they don't do deals like this. This is like the only one out there Like, this is the one deal. So that's what we're bringing to you guys. You should do it. Get the stuff because it's a great company and they make great stuff.
So, Tim.
Yeah.
Is there currently a team in the NBA that's at full strength? Because it doesn't feel like it.
So that's kind of the, this is why the Lakers thing drives me, I think, even crazier, because there hasn't been a single team that's been at full strength for a considerable amount of time since the bubble season.
Right.
You look at the Heat right now, they've missed Bam for large stretches. Lowry's been out for several weeks now. Butler's missed time. I mean, I think their main three guys, I saw something, they've played less than 100 minutes together.
Yeah.
So the Bucks have had a lot of injuries, obviously not to Giannis, but to their surrounding players. They've had a ton of injuries. You look at a team like Utah, considerable injuries. I mean, fucking Denver has 2 of their 3 max guys are out. Like, to me, it's just not an excuse at this. Like, the Clippers are missing Kawhi and Paul George, and they have a better record than the Lakers.
Yeah.
Like, they have nobody. And I'm not one of these people that sits here and is like, it's all on LeBron. That's not what I'm here to do. My point is that the Lakers and some of these other teams that are crying injury right now, I don't know, like they really got to look themselves in the mirror on that one, because fucking everybody's got injuries. Over the last 2 years, everybody's got fucking injuries.
Yeah. It's always a fun conversation, because obviously right now, us as Suns fans are doing it right now. We don't have Chris Paul. We don't have Devin Booker. Hell, we didn't even have Cam Johnson, and we still almost beat the Bucks. And then, of course, the Bucks are saying, well, we don't have Brook Lopez. And then, the Nets have been saying this entire time, we've got 25-hour-a-week Kyrie, and we've got, at one point, which, there's that. Got KD that's hurt. We've got James Harden walking around in a fat suit trying to get traded again. Now they've got Ben Simmons, who, since the mental health issues were invoked, I'm less inclined to. I'm more inclined to believe that there's mental health issues going on than inclined to make fun of it. So I'm not really going to make a joke about that. Like, yeah, mental health issues are real, and a lot of that can be your workplace. So the people that are saying like, oh, now he's perfectly fine now that he's in Brooklyn, it's like, well, yeah, that's how toxic work environments work. If you're put in a new one, it could be better. But then again, he still hasn't played. So they're probably waiting until after that, after the game against the Sixers. Who knows? But the teams that we are going to be talking about today are the Bucks, the Nets, the Sixers, and then a little bit about the Suns. So on that note, Elvis Monroe, please play us in.
In a crowded room, somewhere in town.
Okay, so Tim, for my money, the most interesting team to talk about right now is the team that one can argue is actually at full strength, and that's the Sixers. Because Harden and Embiid look legitimately good. And Harden, if there was ever a situation where it seemed like Harden wouldn't force himself out of, it's with Daryl Morey, it's with Michael Rubin, it's with Meek Mill, it's with all of the people that he seems to surround himself with are all involved or, close to this team. Embiid, though the rumors were he really wanted Bradley Beal, seems like he's getting along with Harden right now. Matisse Thybulle obviously is playing phenomenally. Like they've actually got now a cohesive team, and now it's just getting Harden and Embiid minutes together on a court so that they understand what each other's doing.
Well, I mean, they're 4-0 in games that Harden's played
right
since he came here, and the unintentional comedy of the only game he's missed since the All-Star break being when they were in South Beach is, the jokes write themselves
Yeah.
on that one. I try to look this up and nobody has written this article as to what his stats are when he plays on the road there, but they can't be good. His stats against Miami in general, he's like middle of the pack points wise, but I couldn't find it home road splits
in South Beach.
That's what I mean. Like,
Yeah.
there's no fucking way that he has a good time.
I do think someone needs to write the article. Here's all of James Harden's stats in these different cities. Here's James Harden's stats on games that are earlier in the day versus later in the day. Like, really parse it out.
Because didn't he drop like 50 in Utah a couple years ago? Like, wasn't there something?
I hope so.
I was trying to do the research on this as to the places where he's done really well on the road. And like that guy, I sincerely, what's funny to me about some of these players, especially Harden, is that we're not in the 90s anymore. Like, we now have data that you now know by doing the thing, by living the way that you're living, you are shortening your career and making yourself worse at what you do.
Right.
And you just don't care.
Yeah.
Now, that being said, though, since he's come to Philadelphia, the games he's played in, they haven't scored under 120 points. The actions with Embiid, where Harden starts off on the right corner, they run a screen and Harden's running basically to the left on his dominant hand side around Embiid as they have Maxey running the other way. And then Embiid gets to trade who he's going to actually hand it off to. And then Embiid is actually then rolling to the basket on those plays. I think these two get invoked too often, particularly by a person that we drafted first overall 3 years ago. But it is very Shaq and Kobe-esque. Yes. It is. Yes. The give and the take between the perimeter guy and the interior center who can just kill people it's mesmerizing in a lot of ways to watch. Even though I don't like Harden, I don't like watching him. It's been mesmerizing.
Well, so the one knock and the reason why some people are saying this isn't going to work in Philly, other than that James Harden is just going to check out at some point because that's been the history, is that James Harden is completely incapable of playing defense. And I don't know if you know this, Tim, or the listeners. I don't know if you know this. I might be breaking news to everybody listening. You need to play defense in the playoffs. It becomes more and more apparent and more important as the series go on and they get deeper and deeper. Not for nothing, the best Sixers team that we've had, that was one Kawhi Leonard bouncing off the rim 4 times shot away from advancing. They had Jimmy Butler on that team, and Jimmy Butler basically forced them to actually play semi-good defense. And, I'm pretty sure that was rookie Matisse Thybulle. So, no, was not.
No, I think he's the next season.
Okay.
And that's kind of the defense now, is that they were so good defensively last year with Simmons that even taking him away this year already, they've been kind of middle of the pack so far.
Yeah.
But the idea is that they can get to the level kind of like where Dallas is right now, where Dallas has been the second best defensive team since the start of the year.
Right.
And they have one of the worst defensive players at the point of attack.
Yes.
And so that's the hopeful version of events. If you're Philadelphia, is that the hole on your team can be covered.
Right.
Unlike what I'm convinced cannot be covered in Atlanta.
Atlanta. It's and the thing is James Harden, even at the age that he's at, is so unbelievably beyond what Trae Young is right now. We can talk about what he might be able to become at some point, but currently right now, he's just not that guy. He's not good enough on offense to make up for his defensive lows, and the rest of the team, he doesn't have a Joel Embiid. Collins is good, but he's not like Capella's good, but they're not. They don't even together don't nearly get to the point of Embiid. So they're not even really in this discussion. And it's a good point by you. And so, yeah, the Sixers are at such an interesting point because now they actually do have the talent. Now they actually do have, it seems like, the right mix of players to run that two-man action, and they seem to have enough shooters. Anything? Did you have anything else on the Sixers?
I just think with them, it's they have two of the most, I think, fairly criticized individuals when it comes to the playoffs. You have Doc Rivers and you have James Harden.
Yeah.
Who, I mean, again, you coach in this league or you play in this league long enough, you're going to have playoff failures. Right. It happens. There's been some egregious moments for both of them. They've been a part of two of the biggest collapses that I've personally witnessed over the last decade. And they, to me, are in the Utah space. I've actually named it after them, where it's where Milwaukee was last year, ironically, before they actually did it, is call me in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And I think that can sometimes be short-sighted because as we saw with Milwaukee, we ignored them the whole season last year. Nobody watched it. There was no Milwaukee conversations being had.
I came on this podcast when Milwaukee won and said, we might sweep. And then I doubled down after game one.
And then I quadrupled down after game two. And then we didn't win another game in the series.
And so I'm not saying don't watch them because there's things to be learned. But as far as changing my opinion on the legacies of anyone involved, I'm just not there yet. I mean, Embiid, I've read all the stories that say that he's in better shape. But I watched the games and it doesn't really appear that way. I mean, he is at the free throw line on his knees, dripping from every orifice of his body, like 6 minutes into the first.
Yeah.
Now, again, not 7 feet tall. Don't know how hard it is to be 7 feet tall. But if you're going to tell me that he's in much better shape than he's ever been, I just don't like what I'm watching doesn't tell me that. And the whole thing where it's like, he doesn't like to roll to the basket and he only does it. So it's like, oh, that doesn't sound like somebody who's in awesome shape and ready to kill everybody. It just, so there's warning flags. And this is all with being said that they've scored 120 points every time Harden's played.
Yeah.
So all 4 games that he's played.
So you just said a warning flag. I know this isn't a team that I mentioned, but just because the game is going on right now and they're about to lose. The Warriors are about to lose again. The Warriors are about to lose to the Nuggets. I mean, they keep jockeying between second and third. I don't know what they are at this exact moment now with the loss. But they've lost a lot of games in a very short amount of time, and they do have Clay back. Obviously, they don't have Draymond back. He has a bad back, so that's not going to heal itself anytime soon. Only time does that, and that's the thing that they don't have. I mean,
I will say at least they were willing to play Kuminga tonight. I mean, there's been weird lineups with him where out of nowhere Kuminga will just play 8 minutes, and I don't really get it. I mean, he's shooting 40. I can't remember if it's 40 or 41% from 3 this year.
Yeah.
He's shooting very well. So at least they played him 30 minutes tonight. It seems like he got 16 on 9 field goals.
Right.
I just, there's a lot of stuff with them that I think is alarming. I mean, Steph doesn't play today.
Yeah,
so it's tough to.
That's the biggest headline
it's that you can't really take much from the game because Steph and Clay and Draymond just weren't there. But again,
as an overall trend, I think that the team that should be the most alarmed is the team we're going to get to probably next. But the Warriors should just be flat out concerned.
Well, because it's not like Clay's been a revelation. He came back. He's had a couple good games. And then he had that one really good game. But on the whole, he's just not been able to find his rhythm.
And my point the whole time was this team is essentially the same as last year's team that got bounced in the play-in game. Like I was as entertained as anybody through the first few weeks of the season.
Yeah.
But there's some regression to the mean happening a little bit here with some of their role guys who just absolutely lost their minds in the first few months of the season.
Looking at you, Otto Porter.
Yeah. I mean, like, was that going to last forever?
Poole had another great game.
I don't think he's a mirage. I really don't. I just think that like they have no size on that team. And I know that's been kind of the knock on them for even when they were great pre-Durant. It was kind of like, well, what are they going to do with the size thing?
Right.
But they really don't. Like they have nobody on the interior that is worth half a shit right now. So
they got Wiseman.
They should be concerned. Yeah. Good luck with that.
Yeah.
They're trending in the very much wrong direction. We've seen how fast these things can change, a la the Celtics.
Yeah.
But they should be very concerned. Very concerned.
So you referenced it earlier, who you thought the next team was going to be. I'm assuming you were talking Brooklyn.
It's got to be Brooklyn. I'm not even actually joking anymore.
What a shit show.
If they didn't make the playoffs, I wouldn't be shocked.
No.
Like, as of right now, they're only 2 games away from it. And I think they're 2-8 in their last 10 or something ridiculous. Like, they're not playing well. And the only good sign for them is that Durant came back and looked like he hadn't missed any time because he's a freak. And there's nothing I can explain. I watched that entire game. I can't explain anything about that guy.
I don't think there's a guy that I've seen that it just doesn't even look like he's trying. And I don't mean that as a knock. I mean that as like the ultimate compliment.
It's easy for him.
He goes out there and it's as though you know how in some video games you charge up and then you can like hit a superpower or whatever. It looks like he's always waiting to charge up. It looks like he's always just, something's going to happen. And then nothing does. But then before you know it, he's got 35 on like 12 shots.
This last game, you're 100% right. I mean, this last game, it looked like he was going half speed. But
by the way, he might have been.
But he was still killing people. It's
baffling. It's baffling to me because even those years with the Warriors where he's going against LeBron James and LeBron James is guarding him and playing the hardest defense he's ever played in his career, Kevin Durant's still just kind of going around, getting his shots. Not really like, obviously he's quick. He has probably the best handles over someone with 6'9", since he's probably like 7'2". He probably has the best handles of anybody over 6'8".
I mean, I always ask people to go watch Jason Tatum. He's 6'8". Watch him try to dribble.
Yeah.
He's 6'8", 6'9". Like, that's the average 6'9" guy.
Yeah.
And he's unbelievably talented, but go watch Jason Tatum dribble. It's not good. It's not good. Like, go watch Clay try to dribble. Like, it's,
and he's 6'5".
Like these, okay, Clay's maybe not the best example, but I'm saying like these wings, these like apex predator wings that are over 6'8".
Mikal can't really dribble.
Not like Durant.
No. Most people can't. Most people, even guards, can't dribble like Durant.
But I'm saying I just don't think enough time is spent on what a freak he is. But my counter to all of this was what was happening during LeBron's first Lakers year. Was he's so special, he'll figure out a way to get them in. Durant is special. I just don't know. Like, Kyrie's playing road games, and it doesn't seem like they're actually talking anymore.
Well, and
Simmons might not play this year. Like,
we don't know. It's this team. I don't think we've ever seen a team in our lifetimes, or maybe even in NBA history, which, cue the hyperbole police. But I don't know if we've ever seen a team in NBA history have this low of a floor while simultaneously having this high of a ceiling. They could very reasonably miss the play-in game or play-in tournament and could also win a championship. And neither would be all that surprising. Because if they lift the restrictions in New York tomorrow and Ben Simmons just shows up to the building and plays 60% of what he was before, and Kevin Durant continues to do what he is, they might be the most talented team in the NBA.
I think that even if they missed the play-in game, I don't think Vegas would have them lower than third most likely to win the ring next year.
Right?
How could you? Because people would just bang the shit out of it. If it was like, if they were the fifth most likely team, I would have to make a deposit. Like I would lose my mind just because of the talent alone. But that's hilarious because they're in real jeopardy of missing the play-in game. And I think what the New York mayor said the other day, I think they're fucked.
I think they are.
Like the way he talked about it, and I don't necessarily disagree with him, is he's like, this is a requirement for employees in New York City. I can't talk about employees that are in other states that come here, but for employees in New York City, you have to be vaccinated. I can't make an exception for Kyrie Irving.
Shout out Dormant Commerce Clause.
Yeah, it was, I mean, again, does it seem weird that unvaccinated players can play in Brooklyn, but Kyrie can't? Yes. But that's not how the legal system's set up.
Right.
Like with the mayor, like the mayor can try to ban unvaccinated people from buildings, but to do that in private buildings is an entirely different bag of worms. Like the Nets could do that.
Yeah.
The Nets could try to say unvaccinated players can't play here. And the NBA would come in and say, you're in breach of our agreement, blah, blah, blah. So all New York State can do is say, and it's still dicey constitutionally wise, is to say that employees, if you're not vaccinated, you can't work in New York City. What he said is, I'm not making an exception for Kyrie Irving. Very blatantly. I don't think he's playing.
No.
Like, I really don't think he's going to play home games. And so that opens up the other kind of can of worms is like, if they somehow go on a tear and get the play-in game at home, is that even better for them? Like, like how, if you're, and that's the other part of their high ceiling is that they get in the play-in, they could give a fuck about home court.
Yeah.
They
prefer being away.
They have the second lowest ratings in the NBA. Nobody in New York gives a fuck about them.
Really?
This came out the other day. I apologize that I forgot the guy's name, but he's been on Cowherds and BS's podcast today.
We'll be sure to shout him out in the future pod.
Where he's talking about the ratings. The Nets have the second lowest, and the Cavaliers have the second highest.
What?
And what I know, and what people are.
Jesus.
What people are concluding from this is you can't manufacture interest or loyalty in fans. People in Brooklyn don't give a fuck. So even if Kyrie could play, I think they'd rather be on the road and get some energy from the home teams booing them and yelling horrible things at them. But to me, I'm endlessly fascinated by this team. I don't think we talk about them too much. I think we talk about them too little as a society, which is rare for a team that's talked about this much. But just the collection of people that are there, on top of it all, you've got, I mean, Nash, before he became a coach, was like the number one white whale that was out there for NBA front offices. It was like, if you could have one guy who's never coached before run your team, who would it be? Everyone would say Nash.
Steve Nash.
Nash probably could have had like 27 of the 30 jobs in the NBA if he really wanted them. Like there's 3 places that would have been like, probably not. But like if he was interested, probably like 25 to 27 would have just fired their guy and taken him.
Yeah.
He's there in the middle of all this.
Along with Mike D'Antoni, who has a whole history of shit about him. They've got Amari Stoudemire on the coaching staff too. Like it's such an intriguing team. And by the way, they're not even, they're the second most important team in their city. Like, even though with all those stars, the Knicks, just because of the logo, they're way more important. They have virtually nothing going for them. They've been playing absolutely terrible. Their leading talking head fan in Stephen A. Smith has basically said to announce to the ether to stop watching them because they're unwatchable. And, they're still more popular because they're the Knicks and nobody gives a shit about the Nets.
I think you can't fake sincerity, though. I think people see that. And I think that people see Durant going there and they're like, you're using this.
Yeah.
Like, you came to the quote unquote shitty franchise to bring them back and be the guy here. And when you don't draft a player, when you don't watch him grow up, and when he just appears in your city and you don't have any homegrown talent whatsoever, like at least with the Suns, like we drafted like 67% of our team.
I mean, all of our best players outside of Jay and Chris were all drafted.
So that's kind of my point, though, is that there's a built-in loyalty to these people who we've seen grow up, very much so with Devin Booker, who is like precious to the city in a way that I have not seen any professional athlete here ever get to. And I mean that,
right?
Because Nash goes away for a long time and we were very protective over Nash. Booker is like,
it's more so.
I'm telling you, the people here like are crazy for that guy. Like you should never say a cross thing ever about that guy. He connects with people here. I just haven't seen it. So, but my point is that the reason that they're second lowest is you just can't manufacture that. You can't manufacture loyalty. People see bullshit. And people see Kyrie as this fucking weird ass who's just in their lives for the same reason that Durant is. Like Kyrie to me is impossible to be a fan of. Like like seriously, like how do you sit there and be like, I love that guy. Like I love watching him play when he does.
Oh my God. He might have the best handles I've seen.
But I can't root for him because every once in a while he's just going to be gone for a few weeks. He needs time off, or he's not going to get vaccinated, so he can't play half the fucking games. Like, the guy is impossible to be a fan of. They just don't have likable people. I mean, Ben Simmons is probably right now the most unlikable person in the NBA, whether you agree with that or not. Yeah. Like there's like 9 out of 10 NBA fans be like, fuck that guy.
Oh, so, no, I think Karl Malone's probably got a lower approval rating.
Well, I mean, there's people with lower approval ratings that we can go into. I mean, what's funny is that one of those people, Lorenas, now has a very popular podcast after, I mean, I've made jokes throughout most of my life.
Just look it up. Look it up, everybody. So you mentioned you can't fake sincerity. The best example of that, I think, that we have in the NBA, to your point, is the Clippers, because they don't have a damn thing that they built, not even their arena they built for themselves. And by the way, I went to Game 3 of the Western Conference Finals in LA. Not only was it about 65% Suns fans, the section that I was sitting in, granted, I was sitting at the very top. You know, if you want me to be getting better tickets, support the pod. But I was sitting at the top. There wasn't even any warm body in my row. I was the only person in the entire row. Like, for Game 3 of the Western Conference Finals, the building was not filled. And had it not been for Suns fans, it would have looked like a preseason game. So they had, and Kawhi is their sort of Kyrie in that he's just a weird dude that
it's impossible to be a fan of.
Is sometimes here. He doesn't, he's a New Balance guy, which is just weird.
He doesn't care if you like him
at all. At all.
I'm sorry. Like, you can say that that's the healthier way to be all you want. Fans don't care. You don't like.
Yeah, that's not what we're talking about. We're not talking about mental health right now. We're talking about.
He doesn't give a shit about you liking him.
Right.
The same with Kyrie. And so people don't. Like, it's very simple. He doesn't want to be liked, so people don't.
Right.
Durant desperately wants to be liked so much that we don't. Like, but
that's a good point.
Good point.
To your point with the Clippers and just these, it was, by the way, it was Ethan Strauss who wrote the article and was
gotcha.
talking about the Warriors are number one, by the way, which goes further into the, you just can't fake sincerity with this.
Because as much as I talk shit about the Warriors, they drafted Steph, they drafted Clay, they drafted Draymond. And then I would imagine Poole, Kuminga, like
like
they drafted all these guys, except for the fears that they had Durant, which I would imagine their approval rating or whatever metric we are using, I'd assume it went down.
it was different for them, right? And it just showed you there's very few people that can come into a city with a guy like Steph and take it over. Yeah. That's what made the Miami thing in hindsight so interesting.
So weird.
Because it took one of the most magnanimous personalities we've ever seen combined with the first or second greatest player of all time to take that away from somebody.
Yeah.
And as great as Durant is, first of all, he's hard to like. Again, not from lack of trying.
No.
Like,
no matter how many burner accounts he has.
He strikes me as someone who desperately wants to be liked.
Yeah.
Like in a real way, but doesn't have, he's just not like naturally gifted in that way. Yeah. He's a little weird. He's very temperamental. Like he's not somebody that any of us would want to hang out with. Not to, like he doesn't strike you as a good time. So it's with the Nets. If you're going to build a franchise around that guy, you have to have so much stability around him. And they decided to put Kyrie and James Harden and now Kyrie and Ben Simmons. It's just, you need adults in the room with him because he'll self-implode. And by the way, haven't seen it affect his play to this point. So
that's the thing.
Maybe I'm wrong.
With Durant, it doesn't seem to matter. It just doesn't, because like I said, it doesn't even look like he's trying on the court. I'm not saying he isn't. He very much, if he's not, it might be the most incredible feat I've ever seen, because the dude goes out there and plays like one of the best that's ever played. Not for nothing, though, LeBron at the age of 37 just topped Kevin Durant's career high of points in a single game. But, regardless of that, it's because KD isn't, oddly enough, he's not all that much of a volume shooter. Like even early in his career, Russell Westbrook was shooting more than he was. Like he's just not the guy that's going to go down and just chuck up semi-bad shots. Basically, all the shots he takes are good shots. And maybe that's why he shoots such a high percentage. I don't know. But he's a guy that just shoots a high percentage of jumpers, and it doesn't look like he's trying very hard. But a guy that might be about as opposite as it comes as a basketball player, the Bucks with Giannis. They're at a very interesting inflection point too, because the East is so jam-packed that they went from the 6th seed to the 3 seed in like 2 days. Where they are right now, they traded away some wings. They've lost some wings to injuries. Now what was a wing rich roster and a big poor roster, now they got Serge Ibaka, but now they're out Pat Connaughton. And, they gave up wings to get Serge Ibaka. I'm not saying that they're worse than what we were seeing last year, but they definitely haven't added anything more than what they've lost. Is that fair?
No, I think it's fair, but I think what's scary about them is that they're starting to peak at the right time. And much has been made of the fact that they have the hardest schedule remaining in the NBA.
Yeah.
They're even aware of it. Giannis talked about it at his press conference yesterday, and it seems like they're starting to turn it up.
Which, by the way, you want to talk about a guy that's very easy to like. Even you and I, who are determined to hate him.
He's very easy to like, and that's why some of the rhetoric that's come out over the NBA ratings over the last few weeks about basically like people wondering why Giannis isn't more popular. I don't know, but I think boiling it down to one simple idea, like he's not from here. I don't buy that, because it's not like he's not on commercials. It's not like he's not out in the community. I mean, he was at the forefront of a lot of the Black Lives Matter stuff a few years ago. You can say maybe
was the team that was the first domino to drop with all that.
You can say maybe that hurts him if you look at it from that world point of view.
Nah.
I would just, with Giannis, with the Bucks, look, it's hard to go back to back, not to sound like Shaq. But it's incredibly hard.
Yeah.
And that's why we haven't seen a team go more than a three-peat. We haven't seen a three-peat since the early 2000s, but we haven't seen a team go back to back since 2010. And before that, it was the same guy. Or 2014.
Yeah.
And then the Warriors, excuse me. But the back-to-back thing, that second year is always different.
Yeah.
So
it took a lot of shit for Miami to win that second ring against the Spurs. It took the Ray Allen shot. It took a lot of missed free throws down the stretch in Game 6, and then it took a Herculean shooting effort from LeBron James to win that Game 7. And I only know that because I just watched those games. The fact that they somehow, some way, won that series is ridiculous. And it took so much from, again, a top 2 player ever. And then a bunch of bounces and a lot of luck and a Ray Allen shot to get them to that point. And then, it took Kevin Durant being added to arguably the greatest team ever to do it then. So,
Yeah, so it's difficult. And I don't think, like, the Hawks saying they're bored is hilarious to me as an excuse. Trae Young saying, I guess we're bored. Like, that is like 100 red flags. But the Bucks, who, by the way, would never say that out loud, are clearly bored. Like, at the beginning of the season, clearly a little bored. Yeah. And it's understandable. I think they're going to turn it up at the right time. I still think they're the favorites in the East. I still like them better than Philadelphia. As of posting this podcast, I like them a lot better than Brooklyn as of the posting of this podcast.
Yeah.
And really, it's going to come down to the Miami series. And people may not want to hear that. Everybody wants to see the big names in the Eastern Conference Finals, but I think that there's a real chance that it's Heat Bucks, and it's really going to come down to whether Giannis again can solve defense like that. And we'll see.
So then I would imagine, and I don't want you to elaborate on this because I don't really want to get into this team because they're not all that interesting at the moment. But if I were to ask you a thumbs up or thumbs down in Chicago, I would imagine you're a thumbs down right now.
I'm a thumbs down. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the season before the season. I don't trust Lonzo. I mean, he's hurt again. He's always hurt.
Yeah.
You're relying on DeRozan. I've seen it. I know this is the best he's ever looked. I know what his limitations are in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And I mean, first of all, one interesting stat that I have to get out on the Bulls is that Levine and DeRozan, the two unquestionably most important defensive spots, because that's who you're switching on to. In terms of defensive efficient rating, they're in the bottom third of the league, both of those players. Yeah. So it's with Lonzo and Caruso gone, they just can't stop anybody. And they're like, what, Vooch? Like, nobody's stopping anybody on that team. So,
not a big Lauri Markkanen stan.
He's on the Cavaliers. So
I meant to say Vucevic.
Yeah. Yeah, no.
I'm getting my tall white guys mixed up. And then I wanted to ask you then about the Cavaliers. So there you go. That was fun.
It's all good.
But see, here's the thing. I just drove back from Arizona. So if everybody could just, give me a moment to just unfuck myself. So then, all right. But we're not editing that out at all.
thumbs up, thumbs down Cleveland, because I would say it's an even more aggressive thumbs down, but for a completely different reason.
Yeah, they don't have the horses.
They don't have the horses, and they're just they're fun, but they're not a full team yet, and it'll be very exciting to watch. So the last team is the one that you and I hold very dear to our hearts, and we've already made allusions to them a few times, is our beloved Phoenix Suns. Right now, we're pretty thin at the moment. We're pretty
We're walking in a desert without water, shall we say. We don't have Chris Paul, and we don't have him for the foreseeable future. He's out with a thumb. Devin Booker's in the fabled horrid health and safety protocol. And now Cam Johnson, who just had a career game against the Knicks, he's now out with a quad. What are you feeling like at this moment after winning against the Bucks, and you and I actually got to watch this game together? We gave them a run for their money and we're winning most of the game. And then obviously when it came to crunch time and we needed to have a go-to guy to score, which by the way, we have the two best, they weren't playing and we ended up falling apart at the end.
Yeah, I mean, my thoughts on them are that we're plus 195 to win the West. And we have the best odds for a reason. I could see that getting to even with the Warriors kind of tail spinning right now.
Yeah.
I'm serious. I could see it getting to like even odds for us to win the West. It's not that I'm personally overlooking it. It's that statistically, from a betting perspective, there's not really a case that can be made that someone in the West is going to sincerely challenge us this year. Will that happen? Probably. I mean, I think there's a couple teams that could do it. I'm terrified of Dallas purely because of Luka. I'm not scared of you. I am. I'm worried about Dallas for this team.
Okay.
Because I don't think, first of all, I don't think Luka can be stopped when he doesn't want to be. And I think that defensively, they're a lot better. And so I worry about them.
Yeah.
But not worried about Golden State, not worried about Denver, even if they get their guys back. So
but what about Jamal Murray?
Yeah. Congratulations. I mean, whatever. I'm not scared of Denver. And I hope that this
blow past that comment. I was just making a Denver Nuggets Twitter comment.
I hope that this gets taken out as a clip if they beat us. But
yeah, hey.
I mean, there's teams that can make it interesting. I'm not saying we're going to go 12-0, but it's difficult to make the case for any of these teams beating us in a 7-game series at this point. If we have our guys healthy, which it's looking like there's no reason to believe we won't.
Yeah.
So right now I'm watching the young guys. I want to see what they look like in these moments. It's been fun to watch Jay lead a team. He should not ever be allowed to do that for an entire season, but for a week, it's fun.
Yeah. He has had a couple moments just in these last couple of games where it's like, man, if you could do this consistently, we might run the fucking table. But he's just reaming him out for all of these moments right now.
Right. And what kind of worries me, I guess, a little bit is that Ayton still has this passiveness to him, even with these guys out.
He dropped 30 though.
Yeah, but wasn't he under 10 rebounds still in that game?
Yeah, and he said after the game that's I'm not saying that this means that he's going to start doing it, but interestingly enough, he agrees with you because he said that he needs to rebound better, and that's the one thing that he just hasn't been doing well. Which it's like, okay, that's step one is acknowledging the problem, but maybe watch some Shaq film. Maybe watch some Amari film. Maybe stop watching. I shouldn't say stop watching Tim Duncan film because that will definitely get brought out as a clip and it'll make me sound stupid. But what I mean is dunk on a dude, like shit on somebody. You're at, unless Giannis is on the court, you're the most physically gifted human being on the court at any given time. Use it.
I'm with you, but I think that there's a cautiousness to him this year
Because
that I've noticed because, and I don't blame him for this, because of the contract situation.
yep.
I think that if he tweaks something in the playoffs, I think it's a real possibility we don't see him, or if we do, it's when he's 100%.
Yep.
And when he's out there, I'd have to look at his rebounding totals, but obviously he's missed a lot of time. But it wouldn't shock me if his rebounding totals were way down. I mean, just in terms of aggressiveness, he's down for his career.
Yes.
So
Yes.
it's one of those things that, do I blame him? No. Does it suck? Yeah. I mean, he's one rebound a game less this year.
I was going to say,
and
it's the first time and including his rookie season, it's the first time that he hasn't averaged 10 rebounds a game. Now, he's close.
Free throw percentage is down 5 points.
Yeah.
He's getting to the line about the same. You can kind of.
He's even below his career assist number.
Right. Well, I mean, to me, just like last year, he's the X factor in all of this. And I think we made a poor choice in taking that guy for a ride with the whole contract situation, because
we'll see.
I'm seeing it. Like, I went to the games early in the season. I saw the look on his face. I saw the way he was running.
And you had good seats. You're seeing.
Yeah. Well, no, I did.
You were able to see a lot of stuff.
I did. He was, I'm telling you, that guy, it wasn't the same guy as last year. He wasn't moving the same off the ball. He didn't have the same viciousness or give a fuck that he did last year. And honestly, it's hard to blame the guy.
The one thing is that, and we said this the second it happened, this might be a playoff versus regular season DeAndre type situation.
We're getting close to it.
Because he very, very, very noticeably started going just all the hell out in that Lakers series and didn't step it down the entire playoffs. And then obviously he was overmatched by Giannis, which Giannis was having one of the most incredible 2-week stretches we've ever seen, much less in the finals. But we went up against, and we've made the point, so I'm not going to belabor it, but we went up against some of the best bigs in the game and only lost 3 games in those, 2 games in those 2 series. We swept Jokic, and hell, Jokic even got himself tossed out of the series. And then we beat the Lakers pretty handedly, as much as you can in 6 games. And so he turned it on. I'm not saying that that's a good thing, but what I'm saying is that there is a possibility that we could see a playoff Rondo type situation where as soon as round 1 starts, it's like, oh, look at DeAndre. Now he's dunking on people. Now he's getting 17 rebounds. Now he's doing all these different things that we want him to do, as opposed to dancing to NBA Youngboy before the game, But then we went and beat the team by 30. So
I've been saving this for the end of the podcast. I knew we were going to do Suns last.
Wonderful.
Here's the wildest conspiracy theory I have. Porzingis being traded sent up alarm bells across the league. It sends them up in my head for a very different reason. Luka Doncic and DeAndre Ayton have the same agent.
Oh, Jesus. Oh, God.
The Luka making eyes at Ayton during the playoffs isn't something I personally want to see, because it's well noted they want to pair him with a big guy. It's just, it's out there.
Why you got to do this to me?
I'm just saying the alarm bells.
You got to warn me.
In terms of, in 2 years, we've cleared up cap space. It's like, in 2 years, guess who's a free agent no matter what?
Why?
Like,
why you got to do this?
I think that they've got their eye on him. I can't prove it. It would be weird because Ayton isn't necessarily like a top 20 guy to be planning that far ahead, but they have the same agent.
What?
And I think I'm just saying, I think like if Luka's recruiting anybody, it's going to be somebody who's in house like that.
No, see, Tim, okay, here's why I'm mad. Because that's not crazy. What you just did right now.
Oh, it's crazy.
No, it's
No,
not.
it's crazy.
No, it's a perfectly reasonable thing. Because here's the thing. When people do this, it's about, guys like Giannis, guys like LeBron, guys like Kawhi, guys that like any NBA owner would give both of their testicles to have this guy. Aiden isn't that. Not yet, anyways. Aiden is I'd give I don't know, I'd give a kidney for. I mean, still
but in 2 years, who are they clearing it for? Who else in 2 years would they be clearing it for?
What I'm saying is that I don't even think this is a conspiracy theory. Because you know how I feel about our front office. James Jones, you've built a winner.
Yeah.
It's not so much, I guess it's not so much the front office. You and I both know our feelings and the objective truth about our ownership. And the objective truth about our ownership is that we don't pay money. So everyone that's saying, we can match whatever contract any team gives out. What if we don't? What if we don't match? I know we can. We could have extended him, and we didn't do that. So allow me to have
with the qualifying offer.
Yeah, allow me to put my tin foil hat on for a second and say that what you just said is actually very believable. And in fact, at such a not all that seemingly on its surface NBA landscape altering move, that it's like they have the same agent. We know we are poor and cheap, which is a dangerous combination. And we've already tied up money in Chris Paul. We've already tied up money in Devin Booker. We've already tied up money in Mikal Bridges.
I think he's making eyes at him.
Why did you just do this to me?
So that's why I held off. But the Maverick series, I'm obviously worried about the matchup, but I'm also worried about the making of eyes. I'm worried about the OKC Golden State series, where at the end of it, they're hugging and dapping up, and then they text him after the game like, hey, man, can you imagine if you could play here? And Cuban just writes the blank check.
I have a headache.
I'm with you. It's one of those things that when I saw it and I was like, nobody's really writing this. There was a small blog who was talking about it, which I've forgotten, unfortunately. But when I saw it and confirmed it, it was like, oh shit.
I'm actually sick right now.
Yeah.
But I'm going to try and fight past it, because the one thing that I'm holding on to is something that I referenced earlier. Aiden seems to be enjoying himself. He seems to like the guys on the team. And for whatever reason, he's always the person that, like, when we play the national game on TNT or ESPN, he's, for whatever reason, the guy that they mic up. That was even the case during the playoff run.
Mm-hmm.
And he always seems to be like a rah-rah, like, he seems just like a chill dude who may or may not take steroids. It's
in the past, he certainly did.
Yes.
We know that.
Yes. But like, he hasn't bitched about the contract stuff, by the way. Not for nothing. Hasn't said a word. Hasn't made a peep about it. So maybe you and I are just taking our 26 years of experience with the Phoenix Suns. Really, 15 years or so with Robert Sarver. And we're just projecting out. Maybe. Who knows? Only time will tell, though. As of right now, I'm feeling very good about our chances. And in fact, I would say that we're the best positioned to currently win the championship, because we have just a complete team and we almost just beat the Bucks in their own place without, definitively our two best players and then one of our other best players. So any other thoughts, Tim?
I think we've covered it.
Wonderful. You can find me at tfelix3412. You can find him at tleduc32. This is the Tim and Tony podcast. Tim, is there any Ted Cruz award you want to give out tonight?
No, I'm not going to say that.
Well, you'll have to tell me off air what you're about to say.
Yeah, no. I think that Russia's our standing Ted Cruz award
That's a
winner.
good
very,
one.
very somber,
Yes.
very serious. Go fuck yourself.
It's
to
like
Russia.
It's like on PTI when they do the happy trails, and it's like it seems a little odd because it's like someone that passed away.
I mean, specifically, fuck Vladimir Putin, because
Vladimir Putin.
I will say something.
And by the way, fuck the people at CPAC that were fucking chanting his fucking name. By the way, can we just bring that to light for those of us that are at the hour something mark listening to the Tim and Tony podcast? Fuck those people, like just
No.
straight to hell.
Unfortunately, it won't matter, but I'm with you. It was horrifying, degrading, embarrassing, and
Ejecting.
everything that I have come to expect. And
predictable. Yeah.
And unfortunately predictable, because they view what's happening with that as a good thing for them.
Yeah.
And they're not wrong.
So Vladimir Putin et al., please. And of course, Ted Cruz, go fuck yourself. Ellis Monroe, please play us out.
One day, someday, fiction girl. She's my one day, someday. She's my one day, someday.